this time, I'd like to introduce our chairman of the Burlington School Committee, Kristen Russo. Kristen.
Welcome. Thank you. There's an old saying called "Time and tide waits for no man." But on this night in October, I must say I have to disagree with it. For you see, when it comes to athletics, time is waiting. Time's waiting for the next record to be broken. Whether the record be broken in the next race or 25 years later. Time's waiting for the next athlete who will redefine the art and style of the sport. Time is waiting for the game that all others will be compared to, and you athletes dream of being a part of. Time is waiting for the next coach who will take their sport and its athletes and transform how it was played. Time's waiting for the next community member who takes hold of the present in order to give our future generations the gift of time to play. Time has waited for tonight to give back to those who have taken the time. This 14th induction ceremony in the Hall of Fame's committee, professionalism, integrity, and passion has produced Burlington with a Hall of Fame that can be considered second to none. The committee works as a team and deserves the same recognition. Your attention to details, your dedication sets the tone and example for all other boards to be following. Burlington is proud of the tradition you have set forth, and we thank you. The Athletic Hall of Fame Committee would have little to work with if it were not for Burlington's outstanding athletes and benefactors. While talent, determination, and hard work goes into making great athletes, not every athlete or team can stop time the way you have. You all have stopped time and put that challenge out there to the next athlete, team, or community member to meet and beat your achievements. You have excelled at the sports you played, broken records, and set the bar for future athletes inside and outside of Burlington. In a day and age where it's more difficult to stand the test of time, you have done so with your accomplishments. We honor you tonight on your talents, your perseverance to make time stand still. You are amazing athletes and people. We are proud to call you Burlington athletes, and we are even more proud to call you friends. On behalf of the school committee, citizens of Burlington, present and future athletes, I welcome you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the time you have earned tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kristen. So well said. Next, I'd like to introduce the Associate Principal of Burlington High School, Richard Sheehan.
Thank you, Brian. I'm here on behalf of Mark Sullivan, who could not be here this evening. He sends his regrets. He has a family commitment, I do believe, but I wasn't going to miss this night anyway. Are you kidding me? Especially when that wrecking ball of a football team I heard was coming tonight. Yeah, you bet, baby. We got some formations we're going to do out in the parking lot, right? Is that okay, Jeremy? You bet, baby. In any event, it's quite an honor and a privilege to be here. I wouldn't miss the night. But Mark asked me to read a few things from him because he really does miss being here. He'd like to start with saying, good evening and welcome. It's my privilege to be here and a part of the Hall of Fame induction for another excellent group of individuals and teams. Thank you to the Hall of Fame committee members for all of their work in the selection process, the logistics, the effort that takes putting into making this Hall of Fame so great. It's exciting to learn about the inductees for their outstanding athletic achievements, coaches, and service to the town of Burlington. It's nice this year that I can also say that I have gotten to know some of the inductees personally, which adds a nice personal touch on my being here. All right. The Hall of Fame serves to recognize the extraordinary athletes, coaches, public servants who are the best of the best at BHS. Their dedication, professionalism, and an ethic of hard work, to serve as models to others to look up to. Ultimately, these attributes led to the privilege of being inducted into Burlington's Hall of Fame. We are extremely fortunate to have successful programs at BHS, and we are extremely proud of our athletes, teachers, and coaches who participate and work in our sports and academic programs. Please enjoy the evening, and congratulations again to all of this year's inductees. What I'd like to say is, it's one thing to be an athlete, and it's another thing to be a successful athlete and be a competitive athlete. But I think what makes Burlington special is they take a night like tonight to recognize you and thank you for the things that you've done. Burlington's a very special place, as you're well aware. I've been here for a very long time, and I couldn't be happier to stand in front of you. I was looking forward to tonight to seeing many of the faces here this evening. So with that, I'd just like to say congratulations, enjoy the evening, and thank you, Mr. Curtin.
Thanks so much, Rick. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce our hard-working, industrious athletic director, Sean Hart.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. First, I'd like to welcome all the families and the inductees for making the trip tonight, Thursday night, Patriots on tonight. I know that was on your schedule, so I'm going to be quick, unlike everybody else at my table. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for all the work they do. I get to sit in some of those meetings, and I get to watch really the nitty-gritty of going through every person, everything, and all the achievements that are gained. It's really quite an insightful opportunity for myself. Regretfully, Dr. Conti and Mr. Sullivan couldn't be here tonight. They did send along their congratulations on all two who are being inducted tonight. And lastly, to the inductees tonight, you all come from your own unique Burlington High School experience. You all have very different stories to tell about the exact same event, which I think is one of the best parts about athletics, especially sitting here years later and looking back on all the times that you had. The stories don't change to some of you, but they get better as you get older, as we all know. Tonight, our athletic community celebrates you and your achievements, and we offer our congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sean. At this time, before we start with the new inductees, I'd like to ask all our former inductees that are here in the audience tonight to please stand. There's so many that we can't introduce every one of them because we have a large program, but I'd like to ask everybody to stand that's a former inductee, please. Round of applause. Thank you so much. And now I would also like to, there are many of our former inductees who we have lost over the last several years. I'd like to have a quick moment of silence, please, for our former inductees who couldn't be here this evening. Thank you so much. Now, which makes my job very easy this evening, I'd like to introduce our committee member, my classmate, Joe Leone, who will do the inductee honors and introduce the inductees. Joe.
Good evening. It is truly an honor for me to introduce to you this evening the 2018 class of Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. The Hall of Fame committee takes great pride in finding the best of the best for induction into this exclusive club. That said, we are limited to the knowledge of our committee members and the nominations that we receive. As you listen tonight to the accomplishments of these outstanding men and women, please keep in mind our athletes that you feel may be deserving of induction, and send along a nomination to the committee. We don't want to overlook anyone. We will start with benefactors, and then move on to a coach. And then we have a good number of athletes, and we will end up with our team. I will introduce the inductee. If the inductee could find their way up to Mr. Sheehan, who will give them their awards while I read their brief introduction. Then they will have an opportunity to speak. So with that, we will start with our benefactors. Anthony DeSimoni and Tony Cedroni. As many communities are finding out, the facilities we have and maintain for our athletics makes a huge difference. Schools all over Massachusetts are putting in turf fields to keep up with other schools. But more importantly, to give their athletes the best possible opportunity for success. Back in the 70s, the Tonys saw to it that that was the case for our hockey players. They spearheaded a plan to purchase the Ice Palace and managed the same for many years, keeping it under the control of the Burlington Hockey Group. For this insight and dedication, Anthony DeSimoni and Tony Cedroni have contributed greatly to the athletic program at BHS and now are members of the Hall of Fame. Mr. Cedroni is unable to attend tonight, and we will deliver his award to him at a later time, but here right now is Anthony DeSimoni.
There was a time when I didn't need a mic. Those days are gone. I'd like to thank everybody for the honor of joining the Burlington High Hall of Fame as a benefactor with Tony Cedroni. Tony was unable to come tonight, but I would like to thank him for all his hard work and all the time he invested in the Ice Palace. Thank you to Bob Concession for nominating us for this honor. 32 years ago, the rink was never a thought, but having a place for all the kids to skate was the main priority. Through the years, I have been able to see many kids learn to skate, learn the game of hockey, and build so many lifelong relationships. That is what it was all about. I'll finish on me.
We could not have done this alone. There's so many people to thank and recognize. I'm sure I will forget some, but wanted to mention a few. First of all, Dick Frazzone, the athletic director of the high school, spent many hours working with us. Also, the whole oversight committee. Brian Curtin, Don Roberts, Gary Giannino, took many hours of hard work and long evenings for all. Tony and I worked with so many wonderful people at the Ice Palace. A special thanks to the figure skating instructors who ran the outstanding program, Marion Jones, Donna Mancini, Corey Mangello, just to mention a few. Also Ginger Mangello, who worked very hard to keep the rink functioning on a day-to-day basis. Of course, I would be remiss not to mention all the wonderful friends and residents of Burlington who worked so hard to make the rink a success and something Burlington will always be proud of. Thanks for this honor, and it's a pleasure to be able to do this with you.
Coach Edward Ned Murray. Where did this all begin? We take pride in being Burlington High School athletes. Some of us love to relive the glory days when we ran around the fields of Burlington. This Hall of Fame brings us back to those times to remember the fun, the friends, and the glory. But we also remember and honor the people that made it possible. Well, for Burlington High School, it started with Edward Ned Murray. Okay. Here we go. He was the first football coach, the first basketball coach, and the first baseball coach. His career was only 3 years long at BHS, but as the saying goes, the rest is history. Thank you to our first coach, Edward Ned Murray. His grandson Ted, and his granddaughter Elizabeth will be accepting the award for him.
How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Ted Murray, my sister Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Murray. Hi.
I can start off by saying my father would have loved to be here tonight. He's currently in Florida. This is sort of one of his pride and joys, being a coach himself. Moving down the line, you know, athletics in our family have always been cherished. Both of us grew up playing sports in a neighboring town called OBrien. So go Tanners. Having never met my grandfather, it's kind of tough to put into words, you know, what he meant to the family and our lack of a personal relationship with him. But what I can say is that everything that he instilled in us, as far as, you know, what athletics means and what it gives you in life, and basically, you know, I'm kind of at a loss for words, but I'll give it away to Elizabeth. Hold on.
Hello. No, I mean, just like my brother was saying, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you. And I know that my father really wanted to be here, and I know that my grandfather would be honored to be here. So thank you so much. We appreciate it, and that passion and drive and love for sports is something, like my brother said, is instilled in each one of us, our cousins, and yeah, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Our first athlete is Jason Clifford, class of 1992. A three-sport athlete, Jason earned all league honors in football and basketball and was a Lowell Sun All-Star in football. As captain of his senior year basketball team, he led them to the semifinals of the Eastern Mass Tourney. Likewise, his senior year baseball team made it to the semifinals of the North Tournament. A true team player, Jason is now on the Hall of Fame team. Congratulations, Jason Clifford.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the committee for this honor and congratulating the other inductees tonight. First, I want to thank my friend Chris Hanson, who nominated me tonight. So Chris and I go back Chris grew up in North Reading, so we don't worry about that in terms of the Hornets. They were a little too small for us in Burlington. But Chris was my host when I went to Cornell to play football, and so we spent a lot of time together, so I really thank him. And a tremendous athlete himself. He's a member of his Hall of Fame in North Reading. So congratulations to him for that, but thank you, Chris, for submitting me for this great honor. So I'm very lucky that I have a couple coaches here tonight to thank. So first, Coach McGuire and Coach Bailey, and I know you're in there somewhere, so I want to thank you. They were my Pop Warner coaches. I played 1 year of football before high school, and if it wasn't for the two of them, I definitely would not have gone on to play in high school. We never won the league, but we were always competitive. We always had fun. So I want to thank you for all of your support during those years, and obviously without that I wouldn't have gone on to play in college and be able to get to where I am today, so thank you for that. Coach Imbruglia. Coach was very patient with me, albeit not very quietly. It was never a sport that came easy to me. I remember growing up throwing the ball against a rock trying to get better and doing post-up moves, but it started to come together. In our junior year, we were the co-champions of the league with Lexington. So I hope at the next induction that I get to come back here for that team to be inducted. By far, I think Pat and I, who's a member of that team, by far the best boys basketball team that this town has ever had, although not everybody agrees with us on that, but I expect to be back here the next time for that induction as well. I want to thank my family who's here, my sister who, like most younger sisters, gets dragged to every game for their bigger brother, so I thank you for that. She didn't complain too much, but thank you, Allison. My dad is supposed to be here, but he's somewhere en route. He was up in Greenville, South Carolina, and with our lovely weather on the East Coast, wasn't able to hopefully get here soon. But the thing that my dad did that a couple years ago, he moved to South Carolina, he sent me a package that had every single article ever written that I was named in, every program from college that I had. And it means a lot to me to have that, and that he kept that all these years. Those shorts were a little rough on the basketball team, but that's okay. To my mom, so I think when my kids heard that I was getting inducted, they said, aren't you a little old for that? And they couldn't be here today because they have their own sports things going on as well. But luckily, my kids have my mother to remind them of what I was like in high school every moment that they get to be with her. So Mom, thank you for being at every game, every practice, almost running out to the field when I got hurt. That was always fun from that standpoint. But I just want to close and say, representing Burlington, whether it's on the field, whether it's on the court, whether it's on the diamond, was always a privilege. In sports, it was just something that we did growing up, and to have the success that we had is just extra on top of that. And when you see so many kids today just going into one sport and just playing for their club teams, it drives me crazy to see that versus playing for your high school team. So I hope more kids get that opportunity to play multiple sports and to succeed and learn how to succeed, learn how to fail, but more importantly, to have that privilege to be able to play for Burlington. So thank you again, and I appreciate this honor.
Adam Jenkins, class of 2001. He was an all-league athlete in football and basketball. He was an all-scholastic in football. He was also the president of the National Honor Society. But probably his best award was being named the Scholar Athlete for the whole Eastern United States by the National Football Foundation. Just think about that. New England, not a hotbed for football, like Pennsylvania or Florida. I looked up 3 athletes that graduated in 2001 that were all drafted into the NFL. But Adam Jenkins won the award. And now, we would like to add to his many distinctions that he is a member of the Burlington High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Super excited to be here with everybody. When Coach Balian emailed me and said he thought he was going to nominate me, I was very excited about that. And I'm extremely grateful to the committee that you deemed me worthy for induction. Because, it's nice to be recognized, for achievements, but the real thing I was excited about was getting to be here tonight because this is home. I love this place. I just do. I don't get to come back. To those of you who know me, this really isn't a surprise. But anyway, I don't really get to come back a whole lot. And so to be able to come tonight and see so many people who are so influential, it's really, really appreciative. I lack the eloquence to properly put into words how grateful I am for growing up in this community. It's a great, special place, like a lot of people have alluded to. Long before, I did anything on the BHS athletic fields, I was just a kid that went to Wildwood Elementary School. And me and my buddies, every day you can find us at Miter. You can find us on Crowley Road playing street hockey. You can find us, sometimes we'd walk, the 1.5 miles to Simons, which seemed like a really long way to shoot on some 9.5-foot hoops. We loved it. And those guys, none of them moved. We grew up together through elementary school, through middle school. The furthest somebody moved is somebody, reclassified to Fox Hill. And, it seemed like they moved to the middle of Kansas. And that foundation really gave me a big appreciation for growing up in this community. In the structured sports, when I was younger, guys like Paul Ganley, who had summer camps at the middle school for, he couldn't have been making any money with what he was paying to rent it out and paying to charge us and feeding us pizza and letting us run around for a week and, just getting to embrace being a part of this town. Guys who ran the middle school basketball programs. I'm sure Mr. Pondelli's kicking around here somewhere, reffing for us all the time. Just really, really appreciated. Guys who coach Pop Warner, who love this town. Mr. Gochis, Mr. Foley. It really instilled in me before I even got to high school pride in this community. And then I got to high school, and as a freshman, I had a freshman football coach by the name of Mr. Bello. I think it was his only year there, but he convinced me that in Pop Warner in 6th grade, when I was a lineman, that's because I was younger than everybody else, that I should try moving out where I could catch the ball a little bit. And I really fought him on it, and I'm really happy that decision happened. He decided to play me at tight end because it really opened a lot of doors later in life for me. Also that winter as a freshman, playing on the freshman basketball team for another gentleman of very high character who loved this community, was a very good basketball player in his own right. Coach McCulkin, you're around somewhere, right, in here? I really appreciated that opportunity. Like I said, surrounded a lot of really, really great men who love this town. And it just really helped build my character being around all you guys. And then my sophomore year, moving on up to the varsity football team, and I met two men who were very, very influential in my life, in Coach McGuire and Coach Balian. I know they got first names, but I know I don't speak them because that's not what they are. It's Coach McGuire and Coach Balian. And those two men, I love them because Coach McGuire, he's a Cornell grad. Pretty sure we play you this week, and we're going to tune you up. But anyway, he's a Cornell grad, and all I remember was he was working at 4:30 in the morning every day so he could come over and coach football at his alma mater in the community he grew up in because he loved our town, he wanted to give back to it, and he loved our football program. And the relationship that him and Coach Balian had as best friends and the depth of their relationship that was, honestly, you could tell forged through a lot of athletic, competition together. It was just awesome to see two men really love each other that way. And in a time when society was starting to become very, very pervasive in what was okay and what wasn't, Coach always had a pretty strong moral code. And he didn't really, there was no favorites with him. He told you how it was, whether you liked it or you didn't like it. And for somebody who was extremely headstrong, and I had a pretty good streak of self-righteousness in me, we butted heads sometimes. And I always, looking back on it, really appreciated the guidance that he gave. And we started off as a sophomore laden team, went 3-7, took our lumps, and by the time it was all said and done as seniors, we were a 2-point conversion away from winning the first league championship in 40 years in our town. And we were ranked in the Globe, ranked in the Herald, all that. But more than anything, Coach took us, as a group of boys who grew up together and liked one another, to a really tight-knit team that laid it on the line for one another. And it caused me to love this game to the point where it's what I do professionally now. I coach, and he's a huge, huge influence because of that, and I'm grateful to him for that. And lastly, played basketball too. We were not as successful, but it was equally as enjoyable because it was with the same guys I grew up with. Guys like Matt Pierce took me under his wing when I played as a sophomore in the varsity, guys like Evan Bishop. And then as we progressed into my senior year and Coach Pappas came around, we improved, lost a lot of close games, didn't make the tournament, but had a really good time once again for another man who just loved his players. And, he sends newsletters out on a yearly basis because he loves his people. And he was a really, really good example of that. And then lastly, my parents. The reason why my parents are at the end is because, they were there through all of this, obviously. Giving rides, sacrificing their time, being willing to go wherever, do whatever. My dad encouraging my competitive nasty side, and my mom always telling me to be nice to people. It was a really good balance. But once again, the biggest thing that I just want people to hear is how grateful I am for having grown up in this community. And that, I'm here saying these words, but as I'm saying, I'm like, I got all these pictures in my head of all these people I love. And that'll stick with me way longer than any touchdown or points scored or record or any of that. It's the feeling that growing up here instilled in my heart. I'm extremely grateful to it, and thank you very much for letting me speak to you.
I didn't know there were any people out here that would have gone to the Wildwood School. That's awesome. Raise your hand if you went to Wildwood. All right, a moment of silence for Wildwood. Okay. Our next inductee, Lisa Marchesi Ergot, class of 1989. She led her gymnastics team to a league championship. She was an all-scholastic twice, all-league twice, and the state's all-around champion in gymnastics. All that while maintaining top grades and earning membership into the National Honor Society. She can now add member of the Burlington High School Athletic Hall of Fame to her impressive credentials. Lisa Marchesi Ergot.
Okay. So who knew performing on a balance beam would actually seem easy right now? I'm feeling like that might be preferable, and I think these two guys before me, are they motivational speakers or professional speakers? Like what's happening? I, on the other hand, I'm gonna read from my paper a little due to being a little more nervous than those two guys seemed. So, first of all, I want to thank the committee for choosing me amongst this incredible group of athletes. It's really special to me, and thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy that my family is here with me, my husband Mark, my kids Olivia, Jack, Ryan, Julia. Thank you for coming. I know that it's never preferable to skip hockey practice, so I hope this is worth your while. I'm sure just this moment is really fantastic. There'll be no jokes at my kitchen table at all about this. So. And I also want to thank my moms here, Judy and her husband Neil. So I'm thrilled to have them here with me. And so along those lines, I love my current role as a spectator watching my children play their sports. But at the same time, it's been nice to reflect on my own career as an athlete and all of the things that it gave me and the fond memories and the happiness. Moreover, it's nice to have another opportunity to thank my mom and my dad, if he were still with us, for their unwavering support, their commitment, and of course, the driving. No one can really, do justice to what that's like. I think a lot of parents now, it seems to be more the norm, but when I did gymnastics, it really wasn't the norm. There wasn't a gym in town. It wasn't like you were around the corner or you walked to a field. It was really, everything was far off. They did a lot of driving for me, 6 days a week, sometimes 7, depending on meets. And So when I took to gymnastics, like it or not, it became a family affair, so thank you. I also wanted to acknowledge my teammates and my coach, the late Nina Warner, who would have loved this, as I said to Doug when he called, to tell me the news and to talk to me about the team. She would have been thrilled. She was so dedicated to us, to the team, and I think in general, it's important to acknowledge my team, although gymnastics is a funny sport where it's an individual sport, but you're part of a team. So you compete on your own and you're judged on your own, but at the end of the day, you are part of a team. So as I was thinking about that, it was funny for me to think, because you go to a meet and you're watching your competitor before you, and you know her whole routine like you know your own, because you've watched it 100 times at practice, and you'll think, okay, here comes the hard part, here's a challenge for her, here's something she's been struggling with in practice, and you're so thrilled when they get through it, and then you think, immediately, that feeling of, how awesome was that, is replaced with, oh my God, I'm next, and now I have to kill it. So it's interesting, and I think it's not always conducive to, you know, having a tight-knit team or a supportive team, but it's exactly what we were that year. And I think we supported each other in our successes and in our failures, and of course through the inevitable wardrobe malfunctions of wearing a leotard, which not many in this room probably understand. It was particularly, I felt particularly self-conscious when the wrestling team finished their meets before the end of our meets, and all came right over to the divided gym to watch. So, and as I recall our team, I still remember the times where we laughed a lot, and I think we laughed probably more than Miss Warner wanted, but I still remember the times where she eventually couldn't hold in her own laughter, and we all laughed together, because it made us laugh even harder. But there were a lot of good times in our team, and I would be remiss in not acknowledging what a great group we had that year. And I guess it's a good segue into my last comment and the things that being a part of a team and playing sports gave me in my life, some of which I just mentioned. And I think there are the widely accepted benefits of sports and being on teams, which are hard work and discipline and time management. They're all important for sure. But I think there are also the lesser talked about benefits, empathy, sportsmanship, and even the ability to laugh at yourself. So maybe one of the most important benefits, though, I think, is learning how to persevere when things don't go your way. This part's really probably most of my children to learn, I hope. When you don't perform as expected, or you don't make the clutch shot in a big game, or you don't make a team altogether. I think these lessons are especially important today, where parents feel a lot of pressure to smooth every bump in the road for their children. And believe me, I struggle with this myself, because seeing your child struggle or be unhappy is one of the most difficult parts of parenting. But it wasn't until I became a parent that I truly understood this valuable lesson that sports taught me. The ability to pick yourself up after a loss, or persevere through aches and pains and injuries, or simply just losing with grace and sportsmanship. Because without the context of what it feels like to fail, how can you truly enjoy success, or the feeling of achieving your goals, however big or small those goals may be? So I hope that's been everyone in this room, I'm sure, has had that experience, and I hope it's what my children will take away, the same lessons from their own sports careers. I hope that they'll embrace their own opportunities in life, sports or otherwise, with the anticipation of great success, but with the knowledge that failures will be part of their journey, but knowing that they can overcome them. Thank you all again, and congratulations to my fellow inductees. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Glenn McGowan, class of 1982. Another three-sport athlete. Glenn was an all-league football player and leader for 2 seasons on the hockey and baseball teams, where he was known as a fierce competitor and team player. During his distinguished career, he was able to play for 2 Hall of Fame coaches, Ed Cahoon, and Jim Curtin. He has certainly earned his way into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Our next inductee, Glenn McGowan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hall of Fame Committee, for this induction. I love it. Thank you. Hi, Bob. I just want to thank my coaches, all my teammates, everybody I played with, Coach Lev and Coach Graham are here tonight. Coach Sean McGuire, who I was fortunate enough to play with. Love you, buddy. I want to thank my parents, my family, my brothers Donnie, Kevin, Sean, Lenny, Michelle, who should be in the Hall of Fame, and the undefeated basketball team in 1985. We'll nominate him, right? I am completely psyched. This has been a great honor. I want to thank my wife, Nicole, my two beautiful daughters, Gianna and Kylie. This is awesome. Thank you very much, and good night.
Congratulations, Glenn. You now hold the record for the shortest speech. Our next inductee, Greg Nelson, class of 2007. Greg was a track star and currently the assistant varsity track coach here at BHS. Greg still holds the school and Middlesex record in the high jump, 6 feet 9 inches. He was an all-scholastic, the league all-star many times, as well as an All-American 3 times. He was also named Male Athlete of the Year by the Lowell Sun. These amazing credentials have earned Greg his induction into the Burlington High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Greg.
How about that ride in? All right. Although my days of competing in high school have come and gone, track and field still remains a major part of my life and who I am today. Looking back, I remember my time on the BHS track team fondly. My team and my coaches made working so hard so easy. Track and field is a very unique sport. It's not a game. You don't play it. It's hard work. Winning means working harder than everyone else. Sure, there's a lot of, skill involved. But in order to win, you need to work. And that's not always easy. But it's satisfying. Practice isn't shooting hoops or playing in scrimmages. Practice is running 8 quarter-mile sprints with 2 minutes rest before you do another, then puking. That sucks. And honestly, I hated that part. But I'm not even going to lie. That was part of the building process. I had to thank my parents for raising me and starting the build of Greg Nelson. I inherited my competitive nature from them, and they taught me patience and perseverance. My father, the ultimate stat man and superfan, made it to nearly every single meet I ever competed in, and even traveled across the country to see me in college. My mother, also a superfan, would always let her presence be known with her signature "woo" at literally anything I did at a track meet. There it is. I told you. High school track led me to college track, and a school I would never have dreamed of attending if I wasn't recruited. The thirst to succeed and continue to improve on and off the track only grew during my 4 years at Virginia. The happiest day of my life is still the day I checked jumping 7 feet off my list. I can close my eyes and I still hear the cheers of my teammates and my family erupting as I cleared the bar. Now, After the bell rings at the middle school in Burlington, I head to the track. My spikes are officially retired, but I love being able to share my experience and my knowledge with high schoolers on the very same team that started it all for me. I wanted to thank everyone that came out here to support me tonight, my mom, my dad, my amazing sister, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my friends, and my beautiful girlfriend. I'd also like to, I'd also like to congratulate all of the other Hall of Fame inductees, the committee, especially the 2006 football team, because some of them were a part of the track family as well. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee, Jennifer Pondelli Scarpelli, class of 1999. She should be inducted just for her name. That's an awesome name. A three-sport athlete, Jennifer was an all-league soccer player twice, as well as captain of the team her senior year. As a member of the basketball team, she was a three-time All-Star and captain of the team. In track and field, she was a three-year All-Star and held the school's javelin record. She earned 10 varsity letters and was named to 8 All-Star teams. Welcome to the Burlington High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Jennifer Pondelli Scarpelli.
Not hyphenated, for real. That would be cruel. All right, so I will keep this short and sweet because I do not have the gift to gab like my dad. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, my soccer coach, Mr. Concession, my basketball coach, Mr. Breton, and Coach Hammond as well, who I saw tonight, my track coach, Coach Lev, and my very first coach, and Burlington's favorite youth sports coach, my dad, Mr. P. My mother, Mrs. P, I don't think she's ever missed a game out of all my years playing sports. Her encouragement helped me believe in myself to achieve all my dreams. I also had the good fortune of having two of the best older sisters a girl could ask for. Tina and Laurie, what is going on? Tina and Laurie led the way for me, and even if they didn't realize it, they were incredible role models. I love you all so much. Sports has been a huge part of my life. The work ethic and routine of being a student athlete has steered me to the direction of teaching PE, physical education, and coaching. I turned my passion into a career, and I teach phys ed at Rockland Public School. I coached track and field at Whitman Hanson, so sports are still a very big major part of who I am today. The lesson that I want to make sure my three girls, Mia, Lucy, and Olivia, take with them through their years of playing sports is that these are the times that build friendship and family bonds, which create memories that will last a lifetime. So take the time to stop and really enjoy the moment. In closing, I have to say that interscholastic athletics was intricate to my growth into the success and development of students in today's society. This recognition means a lot to me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next inductee is Brad Schuler from the class of 1971. Many of you, including all but one of the other inductees, weren't even born in 1971. I was. In fact, I'm older and was around to watch Brad develop. You can tell from his bio what a great athlete he was, and I'm sure that his parents and his coaches have a lot to do with that. But let me tell you where it all began. During the summer of 1966, before Brad went to the high school, he played on a park team based at Simons Park, a baseball team coached by me.
Where I learned it all.
Once again, the rest is history. Three-sport athletes are rare these days. It is difficult enough to be good in one. To be good in all three is remarkable. Brad was an all-star in 3 sports, as well as the MVP of the league in baseball in 1971. These are truly Hall of Fame accomplishments. Congratulations, Brad Schuler.
I don't know why I'm up last, but I'm usually asleep at this time. That's the truth. Thank you, committee. That was really special. If you accepted me into the Hall of Fame. Fellow inductees, you guys are all awesome. Some of the most amazing speeches I've ever heard. Great job. Cindy Kane, my love, thank you for nominating me into the Hall of Fame. I'll tell you, it was expressed earlier about growing up in Burlington. Burlington, what an unbelievable town. When I grew up back in the 60s, we used to go up to Simons Park and play. Do I have a bad Boston accent? Sorry. We used to play, get our own games together. We used to play 9 outs against the big fence. We used to line up our own games all the time. All of our own friends would come up there. We would do 11-on-11 football games, neighborhood against neighborhood. We'd play the Hannafins. We'd play the Strahans, the Delaney's, and we'd get our butts whipped. But that was okay. Some kids had pads, some kids didn't. It didn't matter. We played, and we did our own games. We made it happen. Growing up with my brothers, unbelievable. We competed against one another. My older brother Ed is here tonight. I never beat him once. 3 or 4 years older, he wasn't that he was better, he just wouldn't let me win, whether he cheated or not. I did the same thing with my younger brother. I learned it from him. So I talked about Simons Park. In the wintertime, they would freeze the tennis courts at Simons Park, Rahannes Park. We would be able to skate on all these ponds across town until they were developed by all the housing that's here now. I mean, right almost in our backyards. Paul, behind your house. Paul, behind your house, it used to freeze. We'd skate through the woods. It was wild. So some of the teams we played on were amazing. My junior year, we played on a football team, lost the last game of the season to Chelmsford. We would have won the championship. We weren't prepared. We didn't win. Our coaching, Ted Rose was one of the most incredible coaches I've ever had. Football, to me, was like on Saturdays. We never played under the lights. Saturdays was the most incredible feeling when you came out of that locker room ready to kill somebody. And that's what he instilled in us. We would be ready. That first hit of the game, come, guys, tell me, huh? That first hit of the game, it was the best hit of all of the game. You wanted to knock him into next week. Ted Rose, Hickman, Mr. Mancini, those coaches were amazing. But the team was what it was all about. My teammates, Ralph D'Agostino, Kevin McCafferty played in his freshman year and went to Harvard as a lineman. Stevie Orth, Rick Mitchell. Rick Mitchell would come out of the locker room literally crying because he was so pumped up to play that first game. Swear to God, he'd be crying with Ted Rose giving the speech. It was unbelievable to watch. But the heart on these guys, Dom Pace. So we had a guard, Dean Osborne, a guard. He was 155 pounds, but this kid had more heart than you can shake a stick at. Amazing. So we didn't win the championship. Big deal. Baseball. My sophomore year. Paul Sheehan, one of the most incredible pitchers you'll ever see in your life. Joey Roblad here tonight. Eddie Malatesta, great player. But when it comes to a teammate that shows you heart and desire and leadership like you can't believe. It's Kevin Graham. Kevin, where are you? Kevin, I have never met anyone like you as a teammate and show leadership and leadership by example like you, Kevin Graham. Thank you. So we won the championship our sophomore year, and then our senior year, we won the championship again. Again, we played against all the same kids in town. You always played against the same kids, and you competed against one another in town. But then, when you were on the same team, oh my goodness, you're still competing because you want to be the best on the team. We always wanted to be the best, and that's how we drove each other to be the best. That's how we won championships. 2 championships in baseball, not bad. So my teammates that year, Jimmy Murphy, Billy Sheehan, Jackie Ganley, and Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy and Jackie Ganley were our 2 pitchers who dominated. We started off a little bit slow, we came on strong, and we won another championship. But again, it was all about the team. The team is what made it happen. When everyone pulls together and everyone gives it their all for one another, that's what makes it all worthwhile. So after we played a lot of different sports, fast pitch softball with Ed, we ended up 3rd in New England. Played a lot of hockey and softball. And then I had the great experience to play on the same baseball team in the Eastern Mass Baseball League with my brother Ed at second base, me at shortstop, and my brother Dave at first base. 4 years apart each other. That was an incredible, wonderful feeling to play in the same baseball team as my brothers in our lifetime. That was awesome, Ed. Hey, by the way, my brother Ed won the Burlington Open by getting 3 birdies on the last 3 holes. Huh? How good is that? So, as much as playing is great, coaching to me was the same experience. Because coaching, you get that competitive feeling, you get that desire to win, but you get to teach and you get to have fun with the kids. That was as much fun as anything else. And the other thing that I did was I was Scoutmaster of the troop in Burlington for 4 years, and both my sons are Eagle Scouts, Eric and Danny, and that is as good because it's also a team effort to be able to establish that camaraderie with a group of kids that may not be great athletes, but they're great people, and they grow in that experience. One of the most incredible experiences of my life was that role. Ed and Dave, unbelievable. You guys are the ultimate team for me to be behind me all the time. And my mom and dad were always there for me to support me. I would love to spend one more day with them. Thank you so much.
And finally tonight, our team, the 2006 Varsity Football Team. As it says in their bio in the program, this might be the best football team in BHS history. Regardless of where you stand on that issue, they are the 2nd football team to be inducted into our distinguished Hall of Fame, and their accomplishments are extremely remarkable. They were the first Burlington High School team to win the Middlesex League Championship. They remain the highest scoring team in Middlesex League history and were undefeated 11-0 during the regular season. They are the only BHS team to ever go to the Super Bowl. Argue all you want. Bottom line is, this is a great team and most deserving of induction into the Burlington High School Athletic Hall of Fame. They were coached by Coach of the Year, Sean McGuire. Congratulations to the 2006 Varsity Football Team and their coach, Sean McGuire.
We're gonna have Al leave a half an hour earlier to get up here. First, I'd like to, most importantly, thank my wife, Glenda, for having the patience and dealing with a football coach for so many years. It's a lot on a wife, it's a lot on a family, and I greatly appreciate her being here and my two wonderful kids. Secondly, I'd like to thank the committee. It's just awesome just to get all these kids back together and to recognize such a wonderful football team. I'd like to congratulate all the recipients here. It's truly a great honor. It's a great town. It's a great Hall of Fame that they have right now. And in particular, three people. Glenn McGowan, who's one of my best friends all through high school and still is probably one of the most underrated athletes I've ever seen in Burlington High. Jason Clifford. Jason, who I had a great pleasure to coach, even more so a better person. Just a tremendous, tremendous kid that just always had a smile on his face. Was just a pleasure to coach. And Adam Jenkins, who to this day, I thank God I had the opportunity to coach. I know I'm a better person, and I was a better coach for having him in my life. Adam. I want to recognize two coaches that are here tonight. My right-hand man for 25 years as a head coach. We had some unbelievable defenses. In 2006, we had the best defense in the league. Just a tremendous, he was like a head coach to me. He did everything on defense and was our defensive coordinator, George Balian. And this old war dog up here. If you never met this guy, he's one of the best guys you can have. Talk about loyalty and just heart and soul football coach. He's the quintessential football coach. I love him like he's my father, maybe. The kids loved him. He was an old school football coach that held the kids accountable, and the kids responded to it. And he was undoubtedly the best line coach in Massachusetts that ever coached, Al Pear. I'd also like to recognize a couple people in the crowd. We had an athletic director that was always supportive of the coaches. He let us coach. He let us work as hard as we needed to. Eddie Gillis, thank you very much. Another one that's in the crowd that was as much of a part of this football team as our quarterback, as our right tackle, left tackle, was part of the heartbeat of our football team. And we love her more than words can say, and that's Dottie Aiden. Dottie. And last thing before I get to the team, somebody that basically ran everything behind the scenes, for me especially, I can't underestimate what she does every day, still to this day, is Susan Turnquist. Susan. The best way I can put it about this team is what happened in 2006 cannot be replicated. Between the parents, the players, the coaches, the family, the bond that was formed was just undescribable. To this day, I love every one of these kids like they're my own family. It's the closest thing I had outside my family, my immediate family in my home, to more an extended family. The parents were phenomenal. The kids were phenomenal. Just interacting with them for the hour before this, it's like we never left each other. And it's it's one of those special things that happened, and I'm just very, very proud to say that I'm associated with every one of these young men. Just to go a little bit about that season, we had Garrett Redfern was probably the best back in the state in 2005. He was unbelievable. He rushed for over 1,500 yards, broke every record we had in Burlington. In the second game, he had already rushed for about 200 yards in the first quarter, and just on a freak thing, just completely fractured his big bone. He's still got a titanium rod in his leg to this day. We lost one of our best players in the state. And to go on and go 12-0 and get to the Super Bowl after that just was a complete attest to what these kids accomplished. It was phenomenal. As was mentioned, we're the first team to go 11-0 in the Middlesex League. We're the #1 offense in the Middlesex League, the first Super Bowl. In 3 years, in 2004, a lot of these guys were part of our first Middlesex League championship. And those three years, 2000 to 2006, they went 30-6. It was a great, great run. We had 7 Globe All-Stars, 2 Globe and 2 Herald Globe All-Scholastics. Danny Walsh was a Division II Player of the Year and wiped me clean. He wiped me clean out of any record books in Burlington High. So, but I was very proud to coach him. Couple of big moments in that year. We played Stoneham, who was 6-0 at the time. We were 6-0. They had these twin brothers that in 6 games combined rushed for over 1,400 yards. One of the brothers finished with minus 29 yards. The other kid had 32 yards, and we beat him 57-13. We played Woburn, who was the greatest team that ever came in high school history across the United States. We were 9-0, and they were 8-1. No one gave us a chance. They stopped letting people in the game because there were too many people. They estimated there was over 10,000 people at Burlington High School. It was the old stands that held twice as much as they do now. The entire hill, track, everything was filled with people. And we went to overtime and beat Woburn. Kyle Pierce with a huge 87-yard touchdown return on a kickoff. And, it was probably without question the best moment on varsity field that's ever occurred. We went on in the playoffs and played Natick. They had a 26-game unbeaten streak. Tom Liam, the infamous coach there, had a great program. One of the Fluties was playing for them. In a minute and 12 seconds, I believe, it was 9-0 Natick. And we scored the next 45 points and beat them 45-9. It was awesome. We ended that year the highest ranking Burlington team ever. We were 5th in the state. And beyond all the wins, everything, the Super Bowl, what lasted after that, what lasts now is far beyond any win we had. What these kids have, the bond they have, you can see it just talking to them, watching them talk to each other and interact, talking to the coaches and everything. It just will live forever, and no one can take that away from us. And I'm just very, very proud to have been their coach. Great job, guys. I'm going to bring up 2 young men are going to speak as well. Our quarterback, Danny Walsh.
I'll try to keep this short. I know Garrett has a few words to say. Yeah, first I'd like to thank obviously the selection committee, all the other members that are getting inducted tonight, and obviously the previous members that have already been inducted. Kudos to you and everybody's family that has supported them throughout the entire time. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right? As the old saying goes, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into that, not only by the players and the athletes, but obviously within the families as well, and the parents, the sisters, the brothers. So, big round of applause for them as well, please. Obviously, I'd like to thank my parents, and on behalf of our team, all of our parents. I don't have too much to add on what Sean had mentioned, because he took about half my speech that I had planned. But yeah, I mean, to echo his sentiment, I really do consider these guys and the coaches kind of my band of brothers. These are the people that I grew up with. These are the people that are still my best friends. I keep in touch with them on a daily basis, weekly basis. These are guys that, I'll never forget, my experiences with and my relationships. I couldn't have asked for any more, and obviously the support of the town in general. Burlington, I really don't know a better place to grow up. Obviously, I'm a little biased, as is probably most people in here. But that being said, again, I mean, I find it hard to believe that there's a better town to, really raise your children, be an athlete in, go to school in, and, continue to live. So Once again, I appreciate it, and congrats to everybody out there that is a part of the Hall of Fame class.
All right, so I have one little confession. I typed up this whole speech and everything, a few words, and listening to Adam talk and everything, it's going to be kind of hard to beat that. I'm going to mirror quite a bit about what he said about Coach McGuire and Coach Bailey, but I'm definitely not going to use some of the really fancy Harvard words that he used. So on behalf of everybody on the team, we want to thank the Hall of Fame committee and Paul and everyone else. Thank you very much. We're all very honored to be here tonight. I also want to thank the parents, all of you, all the families, for being there for us throughout all the years. Your dedication certainly throughout the years helped us get to where we are, and it certainly shows tonight as all of you are here with us enjoying this moment. Especially my own father, he got ankle replacement surgery last week and still made it here tonight, so thank you, appreciate that. I've had the privilege of playing with some of the best players and coaches to ever go through the program. And to all my teammates, our dedication and our hard work, both on and off the field, has paid off. Each and every one of us played an important role on this team, whether you were the starting running back, linebacker, the fifth string defensive lineman, the water boy, or the guy who just made us all laugh when we wanted to kill each other. It didn't really matter because one simply was not good without the other. It's crazy to think back and see how much has changed since 2006. But there's a few things that really haven't changed. First and foremost, we're still the best football team and still hold the best record that this town will probably ever see. For those of you who don't know Ted, he's over here in the back. He's still the same size as he was in high school. Our infamous quarterback, Walsh, he's always been notorious for having a very large head with a big helmet, and that still hasn't changed. If you watch Jeremy Steele for a few minutes, he's still scratching his head because he's still trying to figure out some of the plays and which way to go. Paul Lanier also doesn't have Facebook, which I think even Mr. Sheehan does, so I don't know what's going on with that. And if you really listen quietly, you can still hear Coach Pierce screaming from the press box. I still have a titanium rod in my leg, and we're all still wondering how we lost to Foxborough. As we think back, I'm sure we can all think of a few more fond memories, some of which that we should probably keep to ourselves. We all know that we accomplished a lot, and I know Coach McGuire spoke about a lot of those, but finishing 12-1 on the season, outscoring our opponents 438 to 155. A 29-21 overtime win over our league rival Woburn in the Middlesex League to win the Middlesex League championship. And there's one thing that some of you might not remember, and I know that the rest of you don't know about, is that in the beginning of that 2006 season, our teams were the one we cited a couple sayings. One of them was one team, one goal, and the other one was don't stop believing. Two of those sayings, I think the last time I checked, still remain as the football's slogans and sayings today. And I think that's why we stand up here, so that's a pretty cool thing that we started that. I don't know if any of you remember that. Our team was very different than any other team that we've ever been a part of. We had a bond amongst each other that you cannot find anywhere else. Winning, yes, it was an important factor in being different, but winning wasn't everything during those years. The greatest strength of our team was not the skill of one player, but instead the amount of leaders that we had step up to overcome obstacles. Rather than fold to those obstacles, they made us stronger and lit a fire underneath us that no one could put out. In 2006, we were able to overcome injuries, personal issues, and a lot of tough breaks. And this really started from the top in Coach Sean McGuire. I can assure you that there was no better leader that our team could have had than Sean. He not only brought out the best in all of us on the football field, but he helped us be men, and he taught us life lessons that I know that we all carry in us today. His passion spread through the rest of the coaching staff, and in turn, spread to the team and all of its players. We weren't playing for anyone outside of our locker room, and Sean had this saying, it was us against the world. We took that mentality, and we made the best of it. And although this room is full of a lot of great athletes and a lot of great competitors, if it wasn't for Sean and his leadership, many of us probably wouldn't be the people that we are today. And personally, I can tell you that I wouldn't be. His impact on the team, the school, and frankly my personal life are truly unmatched. Thank you, Sean, for being there and providing us a role model to look up to, and thank you for pushing us to the limits that only you knew existed and believing in us every step of the way. Thank you to George and Coach Pear. You guys are a warrior for making it here tonight. You guys' commitment and your dedication giving us a very strong platform to be successful, not only on the football field, but as individuals and as men. Together, we will always be the best football team the Burlington High has ever had. You guys will be a family forever.
Congratulations. The 2006 Varsity Football team.
Last but not least, it's been a great evening. A lot of sentimental values here. The town of Burlington is a great place to grow up, as we all know. Great place to live. I'm still here. A lot of us are still living here. Whether you coached or grew up here, it's just a great place to be. I haven't left, and I don't plan on leaving. But it was said very well by Adam Jenkins and several of the other inductees, and how proud they are of growing up in this town and what a great place it was to grow up. And I echo those same remarks. And last but not least, what we're going to do is we're going to ask each individual inductee to stand, and their name is going to be up on the, Mike's going to put everybody's name up here. So we'll start with Anthony DeSimoni, if Tony's still here, and his family. And Tony Cedrone, obviously, who's not here. Ed Murray, coach. The athletes, Jason Clifford. Adam Jenkins. Lisa Marchesi. Glenn McGowan. Greg Nelson. Jennifer Pondelli. Brad Schuler. Last but not least, the 2006 Varsity Football team. Congratulations to all. It was a great evening.